Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cyberpunk. No, my brain's been we'll just keep it in the cut. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wireheads, a Cyberpunk RED podcast. Welcome to episode 55. If you missed the first half of this episode where we talked about GMing with a purpose, the different ways, or like the different styles of GMing, just click that link below, go to Emmerron's channel, and then come back here. Or you can stay. I'm not your mom. He's not your dad. Yeah. But today, on my half of the episode, we are going to be talking about what to expect in a dystopia. Now, you might be real clever to put in the comments of, well, Diamond, we already live in a cyberpunk dystopia. It's like, well, yes, we do. We live in the boring one. However, over the past few weeks, months, I've started seeing some things crop up on my end. I don't know if Emmerron has seen it so much.
I've seen a little bit of it.
Some things come up of players having different expectations than what was really expected for the game. Oh, wow, Barth. Oh, we got a real clown over here. Laugh it up, gang.
Look, if you say it, Bart is exactly the kind of person who will bring it forward.
Do you play Kenkus in Dungeons and Dragons? Are you a Kenku player?
No, he is, however, our netrunner in the Saturday group. So he's just as unhinged as we are.
All right. Hello, Saturday crew. I'm sorry I couldn't GM for you at the time. I was too busy.
It's all good.
But anyway, so what to expect in a dystopia? This is not meant to attack anyone.
Yes.
As in, like, if you think this, you suck, go play a different game or whatever else. No, this is just very much more, while I understand that you might feel that way, here's the flip side of all that. And so I suppose, I got this far, but I'm not sure exactly how we want to conduct the episode. Sure. Do we just say what to expect, or do we bring up like things that we've encountered that maybe the expectation has come across a little differently? And
so
this is for those of you guys who are my D&D 5e refugees and the 2077 players, especially, please listen up. This is pointed in your direction specifically, but this isn't pointed at any one of you specifically. I want to make that very clear.
Yeah, and this isn't a call out so much as it is more of a PSA, so you know when you're walking into a game that is not heroic fantasy, which I think we can all agree is by and large kind of the bulk of what we see in TTRPGs, especially as like an onboarding. A lot of people come to TTRPGs through Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, now Daggerheart, all of which very typically are heroic fantasy. They are built to allow you more victories than failures. They are designed in a way that, in my opinion, places a lot of onus on the GM for how well things go or don't. And in some cases, they place this weird sort of conflict between the players and the GM and put them at opposite ends of things. Whereas in more dystopic games, ironically, the GM and the players are usually playing on the same team. The goal is usually not for players to win or the GM to lose. It is, you are going to work cooperatively to tell a story that makes sense, that is true to the environment that you are playing within, and that is generally enjoyable despite the darker themes and some of the complications that such an environment or setting bring about. So to start this discussion, I suppose, if you'll allow me,
absolutely,
the place I want to start here is there is a lot of stuff that we see in things like there's a lot of things we see in stuff like D&D or related media to it, right? Where your party are the heroes, capitalized, right? You are the saviors of the world. You are not some random adventuring party that has been decided like we are going to go out and we are going to do a thing to do something to better the world, and the world doesn't care. It's no. By the end of your adventure, you'll be fighting with gods. You'll be sparring with people that are beyond normal, are not even people anymore. You are sparring with divine beings. You are not, you're not normal in any context.
Warrior of Light, is that you?
Exactly. So like those of you who are Final Fantasy players will know what this looks like. You are destined in heroic fantasy to fight God and make the world quote unquote better or save it from evil or some amount of that amalgam, right? In Dystopia, the world is terrible already, and you are not anything capitalized at the start of the game, except for maybe losers, depending on the setting you're running, right? And Cyberpunk in particular, you are relative nobodies. Like you are experienced enough that you've seen some things, you've done some low-level gigs, like where Cyberpunk RED kicks you into the world should be about the level that Jackie and V were in 2077. You're beating up a scav haunt for like a relatively low paycheck in the effort to do some like relatively simplistic-ish gig for a local fixer. That is very much where things begin. That is your campaign. You're accomplished enough that fixer called you, and because they know what you're capable of, and that is your first session is something like Red Chrome Cargo, where you're like diving in. This train's been stolen by a bunch of gonks. No one in particular that's very powerful or has a name that you'll recognize, but the mission is still important on a level that I can't trust just anybody to go out of their way and do this. I need someone who is at least moderately proficient in handling a gun, breaking locks, maybe even operating a train to like shut it off. All of this has to come into play at that base level, right? So when we talk about where we begin in Dystopia, you're a relative nobody. And in D&D, that's kind of true too. In heroic fantasy, you also start off as like relative nobodies. The difference here is that even as a relative nobody in D&D, you quickly start becoming somebody like by level 3, which takes a handful of sessions, I think, to kind of like navigate your way up there, depending on how you're doing progression at your table. But it's not very long before you're already starting to scratch at the, I'm doing things that not many other mortal beings can do, right? Whereas in Cyberpunk, you could be 10 to 15 sessions deep before you start being regarded as anything more than a face in the crowd.
Depends on your rep.
Yeah, it depends on your rep, depends on what you've done, depends how well it is known what you have done, right? Baseline is you are fighting not for the betterment of society in a vast majority of cases. You are literally fighting to pay rent, to eat, and to survive. Like, that is your goal.
As Mike Pondsmith put it, Cyberpunk is not about saving the world, it's about saving yourself.
Yep.
I think like I think you gave like the best primer probably for this topic.
Yeah.
Going in. Now, I suppose then going forward, do we talk about like certain things that we've had come up and come across, or how do we want to just present this? Because that is the part in my notes where I'm just like,
Yeah. So I don't want to call anyone out. So I'm going to try to be as vague and anonymous as possible for this. When I start bringing some of this up, and if you want to add anything to this, Diamond, by all means. But I suppose where I want to start this, from my end of it, is I've encountered a lot of people from because we see it in one of two spots, kind of what Diamond pointed out at the start of this. You either see it from the angle of you have just played Heroic Fantasy as your only tabletop from the ground up, and you have no real evaluation of what it means to play a game that is a little more deadly or that doesn't care about you and your crew. These are two things that Heroic Fantasy players get twisted all the time. On the other side of the spectrum, though, you have people who are coming from like 2077 or Edgerunners. They want to see what the tabletop is like, and they assume, because in both of those medias, you are encountering, in the case of 2077, we have V and their exploits, and they are one person main charactered, and they're capable of doing just about everything. And Johnny's more there as like a side character in a lot of the really big things that matter, though. Yeah. Like V is the lens through which we view and execute everything in the game, right? So like Johnny's there making the peanut gallery commentary about what we're doing, but he is.
I was also thinking about his exploits that are displayed from 2013 and 2020.
Sort of, kinda. That's less important for the point that I think I'm trying to make here, though. Because what people are looking at through that lens is they see V and they see what they're capable of, and they see, oh, I can net run, I can shoot guns effectively, I can do 50 different things, chrome my body from head to toe, and there is very little consequence for me doing these things, right? And the world will know my name before this is all over. Similarly, if you're coming from Edgerunners, you look at David Martinez's story and you get this sense of, well, by the end of a campaign, I should be a hyper-powered demigod, who is able to do some utterly insane shit, right? Like, that is what being an Edgerunner is. It's like, no. That is what being David Martinez is. Similar to V, that is what they are. They are a different breed, 1 in a billion type Edgerunner. They are not the kind of person that just anyone playing the game is going to be. Just because you are an Edgerunner does not mean that you can do the same things that they can do, with no consequence. And you cannot just access, for example, David Sandevistan. That is a very unique piece of Chrome. You cannot access the, I forget what they called it, but the big machine he straps onto himself by the end of it. The whole, cyber suite. Cyber skeleton, thank you, yeah. So, you won't strap a cyber skeleton to yourself by the end of a campaign, usually, right? There maybe is an opportunity for that, but it's going to be, the uber weapon that you pull out of your ass at the last second. It is, it's a wonder weapon. It's not a thing that you're going to have for the whole campaign, and it's not a thing that you're going to use lightly. There are going to be consequences. And there are stories of sacrifice that we role play at the table. Not all that infrequently. Like, people will sacrifice themselves. Player characters will sacrifice themselves. And that is their heroic deed. The only way they will be remembered is by their crew and the people that they helped. And that has got to be good enough, right? There's also usually a lot of character growth and fall off within Cyberpunk. You will either start as a character who is naive and doesn't understand much about the edge running life, or someone who knows all too well, they grew up in a combat zone, knows all too well. and both are trying to find whatever goal they're looking to achieve, right? One maybe is looking for fame or infamy in some cases. Others might be just looking to save their family, right? And both goals are equally valid. There is no right way to play Cyberpunk or one goal that, you know, saving the world isn't the only goal, right? There's as many goals as there are people in the setting. And that is a big part of what makes this such a different vibe from your average fantasy RPG, is that there are as many motivations as there are people, and your group is a group of people that, by and large, for either convenience, safety, or other reasons, have chosen to get together and work together as a group. And you might not all trust each other even. Like, you may just respect each other enough, like, I will work with you because you're competent, but you may not trust their, you know, their alignment with, like, this one's an exec. Why the fuck do I trust a corpo? I'm a street rat. I've seen what the corporations have done to my people. You know, we've been shot by their weapons. We've been hurt by their drugs. We are constantly on the short end of the city's priorities list because they're at the other end of it. Why would I trust the corpo? And it's like, I'll give you one good reason why you're going to trust me. It's because I can get you shit. I can get you weapons. I can get you favors. I know people. I know how to dig you out of the rut that you're in. And it's about finding the common thread, rather than taking one as given from the start. Like, heroic fantasy so often, again, is like, you are all heroes. In this game, you are not all heroes. You are all people fighting for a cause, but the cause is maybe not shared by anyone. Or if it is, it's shared by maybe one or two other people in the party. And the couple who don't perfectly align with that need to figure out either how they're getting on board with that, or what part that has to play in their agenda or their schemes, or why are they helping the party, right? So yeah, that's, I suppose, one thing to kind of keep in mind, is that, you know, there's always going to be this weird unevenness to the world and the party in general when you're starting up a Cyberpunk game. So, like, Diamond, I'd be curious to hear, like, what are your experiences around some of that, like, that table unevenness when it comes to, like, party compositions, and how maybe those expectations haven't always been met or something at your table?
So, if we look on the side of, like, party composition, this is one that, like, I haven't really seen crop up too often for me personally, but I've had it come up before where a couple of players have accidentally brought the same build to the table, and then I have to sit here and just like, oh, what do I do? Because it's just like they are both proficient in all of the same stuff, but they are so separate from each other at the same time. So
I always like that,
like,
though.
I have to work with personal.
Yeah, I've always liked that, because I can just, that gives me a direction for things. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, then I know the kind of fixers you'll typically be talking to and stuff like that. But that's just me. Yeah. That's the way I look at stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, play that. That's fine.
It's kind of one of those things where, like, this happened in a couple of different occasions. One of them, it was very much one of the players was not happy that the other was, as he described, was a copy paste of them, and it's just like, whoa, you guys didn't know what was going on here. We can work this out. Like, don't immediately jump to copy paste. But also at the same time, I've also had another group where it's just like, if we end up doing this, we're gonna be like hella overpowered. Are you okay with us doing this, Diamond? I ended up still wiping those two across the floor. So
there's always a way to kill player characters if you really need to. You need to drop a character.
I don't care if you're two techs that specialize in weapons or building a big fuck off weapon. It's still not going to, that big fuck off weapon that's sitting on the printer is not going to save you from what's happening right now.
So true. It's so true. Yeah. No, that's fair.
So I think that's at most what I've had, but I've only ever had like one player that was just like, they wanted to be him. They tried to be him.
Yeah.
And it kind of got to a point of just like, all right, bud, I don't think this is the table for you. But I know a GM that might like you.
That's fair.
It's a heroic fantasy, but this will be here.
That's more your vibe.
Killing players is killing player characters. Thank you, Eraser. Yes, killing player characters.
Whenever we say, so this is a particular bit of nuance that everyone, I've heard this repeatedly from the audience. If we say killing players, we mean their characters. We never mean the people themselves. But player character is a mouthful when player would suffice. Understand, we're not advocating for murder. We're advocating for eliminating characters in a TTRPG. Like that is, but so something I did want to call attention to, because I know Diamond, you respond to this in chat. Eraser brings up characters are anti-heroes doing the right things, but often for the wrong reasons. Or kind of in that same vein, they are everyday people that are fighting for their own causes, and those causes happen to align with the betterment of the area around them, or furthering certain social goods. Like there's a great example of this is when you do the mission out of Street Stories, Haven't Got a Stitch to Wear. You are being brought in by a corporation that just like, we have several commissioned suits that we need to get in our hands to finish tailoring. We're willing to pay you in these, like in money and, in a suit of your own. You need to go out though, and you need to figure out where the hell these have gone. We do have a contact and a fixer that usually arranges the transport for things like this. Go meet with her. And when you meet with her, you find out this is not just a them problem. This is a bigger picture problem that is just growing in scale. And when you step in and fix it, it solves a problem that is very broad for the city as a whole. But you're doing it because you're just trying to get paid by this one corporation. So it dovetailed good things, but that doesn't mean that that was the reason you signed on. You signed on to get paid by this one corporation.
I suppose another thing, and Cyberpunk is a violent game.
It is.
Cyberpunk is a deadly game. Cyberpunk is a dark game. I have had players come to my table expecting to be able to change the city for the better. Or, like, hey, we don't have to attack everyone. Hey, we don't have to kill everyone. And, well, yeah, you don't have to kill everyone. They do become loose ends. But outside that, when you join a Cyberpunk game, one of the things that Cyberpunk is notorious for is being lethal. People will fight you. You might have to kill them. You might not have a choice. They may come back if you leave them alive. So that is one of the big ones I throw out there. That sometimes killing is just what has to be done. Also on top of that, like when you get into combat, you're not getting into combat because you want to get into combat. It happens
most of the time. There are times where you will get a contract where combat is expected, but that's the exception, not the rule in a lot of cases. It's usually you're defending yourselves.
If you're contracted, you're not wanting to get into combat, but you're being paid to do it. You're not just actually like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go fuck up these guys down the street because they're looking at me funny or some shit.
You might. I mean, this is where it gets tricky, because at my table, or in my experience as a GM in the game, I've GM'd for tables that were that way. We were just talking last night with my wife. The first character she ever played was a middle-aged, former middle manager in a company that kicked him out for sleeping with the wrong woman, fucking around on his wife, and then whenever things happened, and the party was like, all right, here's the problem, here's the gig, here's what our end goal is. Tiki was like, well, I always have one solution. Anyone got a better solution? And would like open the floor, like we can discuss this, but I will walk in and fuck those guys up. Like that is just the way this is gonna go. So there are groups where the violence is the solution and the answer that they naturally gravitate toward. So they are looking for a fight in some ways. It just depends on who they are, why they're doing what they're doing. Like that can happen. But if you're playing, like, I think a lot of your tables and games, Diamond, have leaned away from the violence being the answer, and it's far more the thing that you have to do. Violence is the question. You can answer it yes or no. There's actually no right answer to it.
Yeah.
But it's very much like, will you do violence? Like, is that your solution to the problem in front of you? And let's see. So Mark of Corn points out or asks, is there anything more cyberpunk than the fact you don't have to kill everyone but could be a tagline? It's true.
Yeah.
And then Eraser says, treating combat as a soft failure state rather than plan A is the way to have a long and illustrious edgerunner career. It's also the way to tell a better story, in my opinion. Is like if you mention that combat leads to some failure on behalf of the like mission, or it makes it harder to just do what you came to do in the first place, that is a wonderful way to make it so that the story you're telling has texture, it has layers, it has some complexity to it.
Also, at the same time, I can understand, playing the pacifist, playing the character that would prefer stun weapons, knocking people out. I totally get that, and there is a place for those players. Where killing someone is just something that this character would not do. But also at the same time, combat is just something that it will come up. It will always come up. And sometimes it is fight to the death. It is either you or them.
Yeah. And that's like a corner that is like, if you're in that corner, you're gonna fight like you're backed into a corner, because that is what it should feel like. That should not be the foregone conclusion, like we're drawing guns. We are gonna draw guns. We're gonna do this in the most violent way possible. It should always be I'm going to ask a question here. Can we resolve this through avenue like words or other methods, essentially, that don't require us to come to blows or bullets. If we are doing blows and bullets, that is, we have hit a wall that could crumble on top of us and kill us. And that is never the position you want to be in as an edge runner. You always want to try to be one step ahead of the competition and ahead of the thing coming for you. And if you fail that is a horrible thing to find yourself in.
For like one chapter of Hope Reborn, combat is not the solution. It is a solution, but it is not the solution. Because if combat does come up, you have failed the job. But I suppose that now I'm thinking about like some of the other things that have come up. Wanting to, if you come into Cyberpunk, but you have the expectation for it to be like dialed so far back, like I don't know what to offer you here, hon. Like I don't know.
Not every gunfight is going to be against scavs that don't know up from down because they're high off their minds. Because that's what the rollover encounter is in Cyberpunk a lot of the time. Is you've got a bunch of boosters, they're guarding something that you need to take. They're high off their minds on lace or synth coke or blue glass, maybe some combination of those, and you're just rolling in, smashing them, and grabbing the shit and getting out. That is in my mind, like when I've run encounters like that, those are the encounters that I'm like, I am throwing this in front of you as light resistance that you are fully expected to beat. Walk out of there and get yourself $1,000 a paycheck. That is the quintessential, you're going to roll through this. The more complicated ones are, you're walking into a club with private security to meet a guy that stole something, and you need to make that guy give you what he stole and do so with a minimal amount of bloodshed. Preferably no bloodshed. Like, if you can be persuasive, talk your way out of it, or deal with it subtly so that no one else in that club is the wiser, all the better. Yeah. But the moment guns come out in that, you're in trouble. Security's going to be on your ass unless you've locked down, the room you're in a way that is meaningful. Security will break through. They will come in, and the next thing you know, you're going to have bullets flying. People are going to be screaming. It's going to be utter chaos. And that is if you're in that scenario, obviously you want to try to avoid that. And those missions I find are, on the whole, far more interesting. Or when things like, great example for this one, Reaping the Reaper, there's moral and ethical questions about, when I'm firing at these people, are they still people? Are they targets that I can just shoot and have that not affect me? Because the reality is they might not just be mindless drones. They might actually be people underneath all that. If you've, taken the time to consider that and think about that and feel terrible about it in the aftermath. Like, if you feel bad about killing people, that's good. That's how it should be.
But also at the same time, you can't avoid it sometimes. It does come up.
Right.
I'm not advocating for kill everything, but at the same time, this is something that has to happen. Another one that came up, though, when you come to a game of Cyberpunk, being him will not happen. You will have your character arcs of, you will struggle. Your character will have a bad time, but there is payoff for it. It's not just, I'm just, I am just him. I have the power.
Well, and I won't say that will never happen, but it will happen maybe once in a campaign. If you have a moment where in that moment you are the star of the show, so to speak. I like to try to give everyone a highlight moment where it's like, were you not here, this would take a very different shape, form, or this just would not have happened, right? Great case in point, about halfway through season 2 of Neon Inferno, we have the moment where media is standing on top of the NCPD, talking to the masses below and saying, this is what happens when you attack the innocent, burn their homes, poison their air, devastate their communities. This is what happens. This is what vengeance will look like. And this will happen again and again until you leave them in peace. And then the building gets bombed into smithereens minutes later. That is, in that moment, the media is 100%, you are him. Like, there is no question. You are there in that moment, being the power face that you were always dreaming to be. Everyone has a moment like that in one of my campaigns. I try to make sure that happens. And if that doesn't happen, then in my mind, I have somewhat failed you, unless you're really playing a passive character. But you all should have an opportunity to do that once. Beyond that, though, you all share the spotlight. Like, just because one of you gets that feature moment in an episode doesn't mean that suddenly you are the main character. So in that moment, you are the thing that the story is revolving around. Next session or the next gig, it could be someone else in the party, and probably will be, and if I'm doing my job right. But yeah, that's kind of the thing that, at my table at least, that I lay out to expect. But like Diamond said, there are definitely tables that don't want any situation to ever be like you are the main character. Because the reality is that the city, as we've said before, just does not care about you. And the city is a character in and of itself. It's probably, I would argue, one of the most important characters, if not the most important character at the table.
Also, on top of all that, just I'm trying to think, how do I mention this one, because I mean, you and I had both encountered this where, you know, a player is specifically asking for, you know, the power fantasy to show up in like all the time, and
so
in here it's just like,
so what I would, to those of you who are players, Cyberpunk enables a certain kind of power fantasy, but it is a mix of mundane life with cyberpunk dystopia. Both things are true, but both have to be present, and there is always a curve, right? There's always going to be a curve between them, and you are not always going to be on the upper end of that curve. You will sometimes be at the lower end. But there's dynamicism to the way that the story moves up and down throughout those like hills, valleys, etc.
Night City is that toxic punk lesbian at the end of the bar that, no, you cannot fix her, but holy fuck, she can make you worse. That's the only way I can think about it.
Honestly, it's not a bad comparison.
You cannot fix her.
Like, you are not going to single-handedly fix Night City or any part of the greater world. Like, you might improve your community, like that might happen. That is within your power. The thing that I always try to leave people with the understanding of when I'm running my game, and what I try to impart upon them before they join my game, if they are solely experienced in like heroic fantasy or narratives where they're always either the hero or the victor, or have a better than average chance to end up in those roles. The thing I try to impart in them is, number one, that will not always happen in Night City. Number two, there is a better than average chance that if you want to improve any part of the city around you, it's going to be at the lower ends. Think about the things you as an individual can improve in reality. That's about as far as your influence goes in Cyberpunk. Some may be able to go just a tad beyond that. We're talking about people like fixers, medias, execs, who do have a greater role to play in the broader social fabric of the city. Rockers, yeah, they might as well have that power. If you have social strength, you have influence beyond your local community to do some great and potentially terrible things. But you still broadly are only going to be affecting a small part of the overall narrative and world. And to do anything beyond that requires upheaval. It requires total social unrest and chaos.
People will die.
People will die. Some of them, more than you'd probably like, will be innocent. It will be the reason why we don't just do violent revolution in real life every time we don't like the way society is working. It's because odds are good that the people that you don't want dying will die. And the people who are innocent and have nothing to do with the conflict will die. That is always the problem with armed conflict. That's why, even at the higher levels of Cyberpunk, we're typically not dealing with open-ended armed conflict. That's why the last time that happened was the Fourth Corporate War and a nuke got dropped in the middle of the city. We are still 20 years on from that event, reeling from the consequences of it in the narrative of Cyberpunk. So, like, anything that escalates to near all-out war is very consequential. It should never be brushed upon lightly. It should never be just like, this happened, we move on. That's why, like within Neon Inferno, 6 months later, the city is being further oppressed by the authorities because they're regaining their hold. They're strangling the communities where they think this could come from. They are doing everything in their power to recondense authority because it is that problematic that this has happened. And it took the characters a whole lot of campaign and a little bit of luck to pull off the thing that they ended up doing. So like, that is not a typical thing you do. It is social unrest.
Then also, Diamond, do the corporations really have to be this bad?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
My favorite example, chat. Besides Continental Brands, what other food corporations are in the city? Corporations, not little businesses. Corporations. Do we have any other food corporations in Night City?
Yeah, no, not really.
Okay, no, Continental Brands is Nestle.
They are
in this line. That is literally what Continental Brands is.
They are. Yeah.
They are Nestle.
We've talked about this before, but for any of our listeners who haven't heard the episode or heard us talk about this, Continental Brands and their CEO, which I believe is Jacinda Hidalgo, if I'm remembering that right.
No, Olivia Forsythe.
Jacinda is
Rockland.
Rockland, that's that. Yeah. So Olivia Forsythe is an alternate universe imagining of James Hutt's mother, because she used to work as an executive over at Nestle. And that is his imagining of what she would have become if she had not given that up to raise her family, with him being obviously that part of that. And it instead pursued the corporate ladder as high as she could take it. That is where Continental and her come into the picture. So they are quite literally Nestle made into the cyberpunk setting. It's hilarious.
There is no other like major or like food mega corporations present in Night City.
No.
All Foods gone.
They're currently All Foods is defunct. They kind of lean back in a little bit later in the timeline, but Scop is expensive still. Like Scop is not the cheapest thing that you can get your hands on. That's why so many people eat kibble. Scop is the region of like pre-pack. Like once you start eating pre-pack, you get Scop.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, corporations, they are meant to be, awful. Well,
they're a necessary,
much like our
timeline, they're a necessary evil. You can't live with them. You also can't live without them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like even still, like when we think about like the cybernetic corporations, Rockland has the biggest campus. They are the only ones at the big table because Dynalar is not there. Raven Microcybernetics is not there. Rockland is the biggest one. And you can see Jacinda sitting at the table.
Yeah. I was just trying to think if there are any other cybernetics corps, but yeah, not really.
Nothing to the size of Rockland.
Not as a focus. That's for damn sure. Yeah. Because Ziggurat then is your one telecom. They've got like there are other kind of fringe businesses that support.
Sat.
Right, but they're still fringe. WorldSat is very much like we control long range comms to a fairly lesser degree.
Ziggurat has the cities though.
But Ziggurat has the cities and they've got pipelines between them. So it's kind of like WorldSat's there to patch some of that infrastructure, but that's all they own is infrastructure. They generally don't own a lot of the comm devices and stuff. So yeah, it's like, and I like the way I paint it. Yeah, the stuff that you really like. Well, unfortunately, Chumba, if you want that,
I mean, it's gonna be, you know, the selling cost plus that 10% for that fixer to go find it for you.
Right. Yep.
You want it fresh off the factory line? Well, I sure hope you have at least double to pay for it.
Right.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. And that means, you know, someone at that factory who knows where the shit is going to get sold. Because odds are good that they're selling it out of either a first party showroom, if they sell it at all, or it's going private contract to the NCPD or to their military outfits.
I bet you when we get Night City 2045, the Militech showroom is going to show up.
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah. No, and I'm excited to see what we get in there.
You want a shiny, brand new Militech Boomer Buster that hasn't been carried by like 5 other people? Well, that's gonna be a nice, you know, 1,000 eddies.
Yeah, right. It's gonna be. That's gonna be a fun one. New. Yeah.
But like, yeah, no, you do expect the corporations to be so invasive, get into like everything. Yeah, your phone's always listening to you. Yeah. So I like to, you know, sometimes do targeted ads for things that they really need. Like, oh, well, guess what? You could save 5 eddies right now if you order a new Cyberhand after they've just had their Cyberhand shot off, or after they've had their hand shot off.
Right. Well, and Prepper Jack points out, if you look through the 100 Logos DLC, there are corps in there that go beyond Rockland and stuff. The reason that we say Rockland is kind of the biggest player, though, and why their majority market share, it's like saying, well, technically Yahoo is in, you know, internet technologies and stuff like that still, even in 2025. The reason that they're not listed on the S&P 500 is because they're a tiny part of the part of the economy that they belong to. The bigger dominant forces there are things like Meta, or, you know, Alphabet, you know, X. Like, all of these are much larger stakeholders, and Rockland is similarly gargantuan compared against the smaller, like Polska, Cyber Technologies, Raven, like, or they have very niche markets that they play to, that Rockland just kind of has a one size sort of fits across the board, for a lot of that those groups don't.
What I'm talking about, Prepper, when it comes to like why Rockland's so big, I know we're starting to get off into the weeds here. I take a moment to look at, you know, the mega corporations and neocorps, like meeting the corporations. You don't see Raven at the big table. Right. You don't see Polska at the big table. You don't see Wizard at the big table.
And as a matter of fact, with our Raven in particular, they mention them in the core rule. Yeah, they own, like, I think a couple of floors within the building. They used to own the entirety of. They lease the rest of it. So, like,
I think Danger Gal owns it now or something.
Yeah, or it's either way, they have far less of their own footprint. And that's the way a lot of corporations in Night City in the 40s are. They've either scaled themselves back or have vanished or been acquired by another larger group. And that's because of the way that the world has moved on and how some technologies no longer function. In the case of things like EBM, like older EBM, you know, telecom stuff was built for the old net. EBM, I believe at this point, has been reacquired by another corporation. Or no, they just way downsized because they no longer really have the footprint they do. Ziggurat's kind of taken up the hole in the market where EBM once thrived. So yeah, that's kind of the reality of that.
Like, and also, of course, you know, like all this stuff, like every, like, you're walking around as advertising, you know, people are gonna, you know, look at, you know, oh, you have last season's fashion on. you're not welcome in this club.
Right. This is in violation of our dress code. What do you mean? This cost me $5,000. Yeah, it's the wrong $5,000, buddy. Get a better outfit. Like,
just like, that's the 2044 Terrell and Chang spring season. We are requiring the winter season for this occasion. Thank you very much. Turn your little ass around and go back to the tailors.
Welcome to the exclusive clubs in Charter Hill, Pacifica,
Bellamia,
the Glen, Bellamia in particular. Yeah, if we're talking one specific club, but there are a lot of clubs I could see around the city that are that level of like, we are an executive club and bar, and we'll keep it that way by being this level of selective.
Oh, or it's just like, oh, you can't afford, you know, good pre-pack. You're just over there eating scop.
Yeah, Wizard Technology is apparently another cyberpunk corporation, small. Exactly. And Prepper Jack, that's kind of our point. So we've kind of leaned away from the dystopia expectation a little bit. I guess just because like I'm seeing questions feed into chat now, and Q&A is kind of our next thing.
Yeah, I just have one last thing I do want to hit on though.
Sure.
Also, you know, so it's just like, why are people so suspicious of us? It's just like, you're not from that neighborhood.
Yeah.
You're not a local. They're going to ask where you're from. If you're from the wrong neighborhood, do expect to get fucked up. Do expect it, because, you know, it's just like, you know, you're from old Japantown and you're, you know, walking over into Little China and, you know, perhaps, you know, I think like I think the Legion is in Little China, and you know you're coming out of old Japantown. They're gonna assume the worst of you.
It's a mix. Yeah, the Gold Dragons too. They might not look too kindly upon you being there if they have a reason to think that way. Some of it just boils down to who you are, who you've worked for, what your reputation says about you. Like if you're friendly with, if you're friendly with or representing Tiger Claw's kind of colors, they're probably gonna, at the best, they're going to tell you to fuck off. At the worst, they're pulling their gun on you and taking shots. And that second one is far more likely in a lot of cases there. That's turf war. Walking into the wrong neighborhood. So yeah, that you're not going to be regarded as, yes, look, the benevolent heroes, they've come to our lowly club. They have saved us. No. They are going to, there are allegiances within the city, and they will show their face pretty rapidly if you are on the wrong end of any of them. But with that said, do we have anything else to say before we dive into Q&A?
I think we're good there. Let's jump into Q&A. I didn't want filters. I wanted properties. Thank you very much. All right, Q&A. We have quite a few questions coming up, and I'm more than happy to answer them. I recall a crew needing to rent clothes, visit Pacific Plate. I have done that before, where the party has had to get specific clothes to show up to certain zones, because, you know, you can't be wearing the bag lady chic in this neighborhood. It's too nice. Well, you are going to immediately run the property value down just standing here. Right.
Well, and see, it's not even no one's even going to approach you. No one's going to approach you from a business. They're straight up going to
just
come
over.
Some NIMBY's going to call the police. Yeah, some NIMBY's going to call the police and say, all right, look, like, come over here. You're disturbing the peace. And you could have just been standing there minding your own fucking business. They won't give a shit. They'll just be like, all right, you're coming with us. And if you resist, suddenly you've made their day, and they're going to draw guns, and they're going to do their police brutality. That's the reality of that in some of the nicer neighborhoods.
Cavalry has actually picked up the party before, just like, all right, you're lucky it's me, it's not someone else. I'm going to drive you to the edge of the neighborhood. You are going to walk the other fucking direction. You understand me? Right.
And I also want to point out, because Eraser had said a little further up that, or no, not Eraser, it was Mark of Corn. how often do you bounce PCs from locations because of their wardrobe and style or failure on that check?
I've done it a few times.
Yeah,
I've done it.
I've done it once or twice.
In fact, it's even in one of the books. It's in Street Stories. That is a thing you have to deal with.
It is. Yeah. Like, there are templates for when and how to do that. The main issue that I kind of run into with it is if players are being asked to go somewhere buy a fixer, unless that fixer is making a point of like, if you're wandering in there, make sure you're wearing this kind of clothing, or that you at least look presentable in this sort of way. I try to be generally kind of lenient with that, because the last thing I want to do is roadblock my players from something that the mission asks of them, without there being a good reason for it, right? And so, like, I wanted them to be able to fail forward, is I guess the best way I could put that. I want them to be able to succeed in their failure, and a lot of that sort of like consequence, the way you build and execute the consequence on that is fairly uninteresting and anticlimactic, unless there's a very good reason for it. And I just, to me, it's such an annoying thing to have to always be on mind about that. So I tended to kind of like avoid telling those kinds of stories or narratives. That said, I've run sessions like that before, or I've introduced that as a complication.
Also, like, on top of that, the fixer is like arranging for you guys to meet there. Like, they would probably also have made the arrangements to have you guys,
right,
come in. Like, for me, like, I have my club, the Hollow, which it's an Elf Lines bar. Yeah. Most nerds you're gonna see in there are probably either wearing, their NCU hoodie, their leisure wear, maybe their Asia Pop.
Most of them probably are wearing something pretty generic, like a band shirt or something, like what I'm wearing. Like, it's a lot of people just show up in what they want to wear. Excuse me.
If edge runners show up, it's gonna be like, okay, what's all this about? And it's like, we're just meeting someone here, fixer. Like, okay, just keep everything put away.
Yeah, keep everything put away. Stay near the edge of the space. We don't want you making the patrons. Yeah, we don't want you scaring the patrons, making them nervous. That's kind of the vibe I usually try. And and Mark, that to your point is like, if my party isn't the kind that are full of socialites and limelight chasers, you're just not gonna like throw the wardrobe thing on them very often, because odds are they're not meeting in clubs where that's a massive consideration, right? Or they're not going there unless there's a couple of cases where I've had it where like they want to get in somewhere and infiltrate for personal reasons, and then I do make it a thing, but it has to become a sub-objective. It cannot be something that I'm just like throwing out of the blue at them. It's always going to be laid as an expectation, or understood as a prerequisite for them getting done what they want to do. So the next question that we have here is Prepper Jack asks, what are some of the most inventive things your players have done to tackle a problem?
Oh, goodness. What was the most creative way I've seen players tackle a problem? Duct tape. Oh, God, the duct tape incident. Okay. All right. So it was 2021. All right. We're a year into playing Cyberpunk. And we all are excited because duct tape is on the gear list. We're a bunch of Midwestern folks. Duct tape is just, it's something we all have. It is something we all have in possession with. We all know things that you can do with duct tape. So my party is like, oh, did anybody bring a grapple gun? Did anybody bring rope. No, but I have duct tape. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do with the duct tape? And one of my party members was like, okay, if I can prove you can climb with duct tape, would you allow us to climb with duct tape? I'm like, I guess. I literally watched one of my friends scale up the side of our apartment building with duct tape.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'll allow it. You just need to give me a basic tech check, and yeah, I'll allow it.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. I think one of the most inventive things a table of my players has done, because I've got kind of two answers. I got one where I was a player in the group, and I have another where I was the GM. So I'll start with the GM one, because I think that that's more to the spirit of your question. So this was when, I will talk about this because at the time this would have been under an NDA. The book is out now, so I'm not worried about sharing this story. We were playtesting a mission for Hope Reborn, where the players are tasked with a heist. And without revealing too much to avoid the spoilers, those of you who've played through it will know, because there's one really specific heist gig in the book. So in this heist, there are a ton of ways you could solve for the problem. But the idea is there's a vault in the basement. The ground level is hosting a party to celebrate this business being opened. And your players have to break in, steal shit out of that vault without being noticed. Or with a minimal amount of being noticed. Because on the way out, these bottles are not... The thing they're stealing is alcohol. Bottles are fragile. So my players decided to drug everyone at the party by lacing the alcohol they were serving with a laxative.
Whoa!
They had a med tech. It was like, I probably know how to get my hands on a laxative, right? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, probably. You're a med tech. You probably need to use it for basic first aid shit. So they lace all of the liquor being served at this very ritzy socialite limelight kind of party with laxatives. And when the chaos hits, that's where they make their move and break into the vault while everyone is literally shitting themselves. It is hilarious. One of the best comedies of a session I've ever overseen. I was very impressed with the party and their creativity. So the other, where I was a player, not the GM, is our group was tasked with making a lab disappear in the middle of a combat zone. We're hired by a corporation to go in, make this lab that was once theirs and had now been overtaken by a group of gangers. We need to make this lab vanish off the map. We were given the C9 needed to do it. And as we get on site, we spend time kind of prowling the exterior, figuring out, okay, like what's going on, who's in charge, what's the best way that we can like get access to the building and infiltrate it and not be noticed. So we find that this gang is being overseen by a woman behind the scenes, right? She's got a projector, but she's masking her voice, her face, everything. I'm her crew's net runner. So I'm like, well, I can take her place because she's masking all of this. I can just leave her mask on and just have it be me, right? Just make the subtle adjustments to my voice tuning or whatever. And our, one of the other players in our group says, okay, you can do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to arrange, it's our solo, I think. I'm going to arrange for it to happen where we're going to pretend we're runners for more of this drug being run to a nearby club. And so we're going to set up a meet at this nearby club, and we are going to load a bunch of money bags with the explosives. And we're going to have them bring the money in, and you as the netrunner running the behind the scenes show, we're going to tell them where to place so we can collapse the building with a remote detonator. And it worked. It was so cool to watch that play out. Even our GM at the end of it was like, I did not expect that that's how you guys were going to do that. That was genius. That was so cool. And I was like, I felt so proud of being part of that machine. So yeah, all of that plays out. It's so good. It's so good. So yeah, that was a wild run.
Another creative solution I've seen that came up. I literally watched my party just. The party was a fixer had arranged for the party to go and quietly nab someone, and basically somebody was running their mouth a little too loud, and there was this guy knew a little too much, had knew a little too much proprietary information about some weapons they were working on. And so the party decided, okay, we're not going to look for them. We're going to make them come to us. And I'm just like, okay, how are you going to do that? And the rocker boy, she looks over and I'm like, well, can I find her on the garden dating? And I'm like, what are you doing? And so, I'm just like, okay, well, you're gonna need to figure out who this person is in order to get the algorithm to match you guys. So this party proceeds to stalk this person for the next week. All the behaviors, taking notes, like the fucking media took so many notes. Like they were just over there in their notebook. Like, what were you doing? Like, well, I'm just. What flavor kibble do they like? I'm like, why does that matter? This is important. I'm like,
this is
It's cheese blasted. Okay, cheese blasted. All right, note it. All right. What drink are they ordering at this bar? I mean, they're getting a Moscow Mule. Okay, all right. I'm like, okay, all right. What train do they take home? I'm like, I mean, I guess you guys can find that, sure. So this goes on for a week. I'm like, guys, Archie, this was just a simple job. Like, yeah, don't worry, the payout's gonna be great. I'm like, okay. So the media's like, all right, GM Diamond, I have at least 12 pieces of evidence to present to the garden that should make for a good algorithm answer. I'm like, okay, you're going to need to roll a credibility check. But because this is an algorithm and not people, this is going to be considered higher. Okay, all right. Proceeds to roll a 1. Passes the check. I'm like,
that's incredible.
Okay, right. So the match happens. And so there's like, okay, well, we're gonna let them cook here. And I'm like, and the fixer had said, I think. And they wanted to make sure that like they were actually getting the job done the right way around. And they're like, well, we want to make sure if this is true or not, so we're not just murking someone on accident.
Right? No, like, that's a very well thought out, like very extra, but it's very well thought out. Like this is actually genius. Social engineering is not something I've ever seen done like that. That's incredible.
So the rocker boy proceeds to match with this like freelance exec. Yeah, they get to chatting and hey, how you doing? What you doing? The typical back and forth.
Yeah.
And then finally they end up going out to a club, and this is where the solo, the nomad, the media, the rocker boy, and also the lawman are all just showing up. And so what ends up happening is the lawman and Solo are waiting inside and letting things go down. And they proceed to date happens. We end up doing the whole date path where she ends up giving up the information about the weapon.
Wow.
Fucking amateur hour, okay? Absolute amateur hour.
That's
So
that is so cool though that you use the dating DLC that way. I'm still blown away by that. That's so cool. What the
I mean,
hell?
it's a tool.
It is.
So
That's just I've never seen it employed like that. That's incredible.
So what ends up happening is the lawman shows up, flashes badge, is like, and it's just like, I need you two to come with me. And so the rocker boy decides to just add the pressure of just like charismatic impact. Hey, can you please come with me? I really don't want to deal with this guy on my own. Passes the check.
Sure.
They ended up getting thrown in. They ended up getting out, going outside the club, black bagging her, and then taking her off to the fixer with the proof. And it's just like, wow. Nice. Like, I like, it wasn't like a sudden, quick, clever thing, but it was just like, I was like, okay, you know what? Here's an extra $500 because you brought some extra proof.
Yeah.
Here's the extra payout. I'm like, wow.
That's really cool though. Like everything from start to finish on that, I'm like, oh man, that's fucking inspired in the best way.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool.
I've also had a fixer do a psyop on another fixer. They had this other fixer, but they were doing the psyop on the fixer's apprentice. Is what they were doing.
Right.
They were just gaslighting the shit. It's like, oh my gosh,
so funny.
Like,
yeah.
Hey, so I heard that you guys might have this, and it would be I think it would be a really good first step for you if you could supply me with this certain thing.
That's it. That's so good.
That thing was a Tsunami Arms Helix.
Yeah, that's easy to find. Not. Yeah.
That was supposed to be going up for night market.
Yep.
And this had been a slow boil over 6 months worth of sessions of this fixer just gaslighting this apprentice.
That's
and I'm just like, why do we
crazy.
keep coming back to this? Like, don't worry, you'll see. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
Patience.
I was so confused, and I'm
I'm cooking. Just let me cook.
and I'm just like, oh. So yeah, I love watching like social engineering happen at my table.
That's
sometimes it's a
hilarious.
little scary though.
That's incredible that they think to do that. Honestly, I'm impressed by that. Like,
I mean, I've broken out what I've learned in interview tactics at Emmerron's table before, and it's
you
just
have,
like,
and it was baffling to me just to watch how good it worked. Like, and that was very cool. It's always cool. It's like when the social roles really get their moment to shine, it is unlike anything else in this game. It's so cool. But I think with that said and answered, we are at the time. We are at that 7 p.m. Pacific time. As we wrap things, before you give your outro, I do want to mention a couple of quick things. First and foremost, I think I mentioned on my half of the episode. I do not know if I've mentioned on this half of the episode. So if you are watching over on Diamond's side of things right now, I want to make sure that you all know we are both going to be GMs at Roll20 Con this year. I have one of my games up already. I am cooking a second. And I will be putting it out on StartPlaying the moment that I do. We are both running these through StartPlaying. The games are paid games, but the games for the Roll20 2025 convention are entirely 100% of those profits are going to support the Trevor Project. For those of you who are unfamiliar, this is a project benefiting the trans community, I believe in particular, but I believe it's kind of queer youth as a blanket. Diamond knows a little more about it. She's done other benefits for them in the past.
Well, the Trevor Project's a very important thing for me, and like as always, donate to the Trevor Project when you can. The Trevor Project basically is a queer youth suicide hotline, but they've also been helping adults as well. if it wasn't for them, I would not be here on this screen right now talking to all of you. I know, whoa, it got real dark. Welcome to the dark future.
That's why this is important and why we are both doing shit to support this. So
the Trevor Project, they've been at it for years, but also in the light of recent legislation, recent works of other administrations, Florida, our
recent real life dystopia, we need this project and others like it need all of the help and support that they can possibly get. The
Trevor Project is important to me. It's important to many queer folks out there. Without them, we would lose a lot more brothers and sisters than we do. So please, if you want to come play games, come during Roll20Con, pick up a seat, because all that money is going to a very good cause.
So the reason I bring this up here for everyone, I will try to.
Aren't set up yet, but they will be soon.
Her games aren't set up yet, but if you don't already do so, follow her over on StartPlaying. I will make sure that those links are in the notes for the episode over on Spotify for both hers and my StartPlaying profiles. Follow our profiles. If you do so, when a game goes up, you will get an email. You'll also be able to see, for at least mine, because I set that up last night, for my Friday afternoon game that weekend. It is going to be September 26th through the 28th. If you want to play at our tables, again, all of the proceeds for these games are going to go toward the Trevor Project, not to us. So, are you good?
I'm good. Sorry.
You're good. Yeah.
It's heavy shit, but yeah, it's sorry. Yeah, my seats will be $30 because, like, or I may do a little bit lower seats. I'll try to do some varying costs so anybody can get in.
I'm running mine at 20. I'm running mine at 20.
20 will probably be
because I want to charge. I want to charge as much as I can to give the Trevor Project as much support as they can while not introducing a barrier to people joining if they can't afford my usual cost. Because usually I do charge 30. This is a one shot. It's going to be 20. Those of you who have played at my table before and played through Pay to Win, that is my current game that I'm putting up. So if you played it, I am so sorry, but my table might not be the best unless you really want to replay that with pre-gens. That's what I'm going to be running.
To my players, you have played Hungry for Violence probably at some point at all my tables. Go play Pay to Win. It's a great time, especially like I'm going to run Pay to Win at my tables at some point, but go play with Emmerron. It's so much fun.
It is one that I'm very proud of.
I am going to run Hungry for Violence. It is very much a nice, quick smash and grab scream sheet that will be that is available for free. Do not go and read it if you're going to come play. But these will be 3 hours. I will be running 3-hour sessions. We will be using pre-gens and all right. Okay. But yeah, all this money, it's going to be going to probably one of the most important causes I believe in.
Yeah.
That being said, also, as one last important note to a viewer, we're there. If you want to come help support other good causes, especially over on my server, late friend of Valkyrie and I, who is a member of my community, Wolfie, passed away earlier this year. We're doing a fundraiser for the Safe Project, which I'll grab that link and come tune in to the streams. It'll be posted in the announcements channel of my server. It's an all weekend festival and just
posted in the partnered announcements section of mine as well. Feel free to tag at everyone because we want to support these causes because both are important. And so if you like listening to some great electronic sets and things like that, that's going to be more what's going on this weekend.
you're going to get a nice mixture of stuff. Safe, it's a nonprofit that's dedicated to those dealing with substance abuse and other mental health challenges as well. I know we're running a little long. This has kind of become a very important weekend.
Yeah. This month in general is going to be busy on this front. If you want to support, if you want to support Diamond and Valkyrie, they're going to be doing stuff this weekend for the Safe. You said Safe Project?
Well, it's a Safe Project. Some proceeds will be going to Wolfie's family, and whatever is probably a good majority of it's going to be going to the Safe Project.
Okay. So the Safe Project is this weekend. September 26th through the 28th is Roll20Con. The proceeds of the games that we're running, is going to be all the proceeds from that convention in general are going toward the Trevor Project. And then the weekend after that is not a benefit, but it's going to be RenCon. And
we'll be there.
We will be there. And we are going to be running games. So if you are in Arizona in particular, or we'll be in Tucson that weekend, that is where we are going to be running games live in the flesh for a combination.
I'll be running Shadow Scar and Onyx Path.
Onyx Path Publishing, yep.
Onyx Path Publishing's Curseborn, which Curseborn, for you Vampire the Masquerade fans, come check out Curseborn.
Yeah, it looks like a fun time. I'm going to be running Shadow Scar and Daggerheart. And then we'll be joined by two of my longtime friends, those being Connor, who has shown up in Neon Inferno before. He will be running Cyberpunk and Daggerheart. And then my friend Evan, who also goes by Phantom online, he is going to be running Cyberpunk and Curseborn. So we are going to have a ton of stuff going on at that convention. So if you are in the area, please feel free to come by, nab a seat at our tables when they are put up on the site. We would love to have you join us. But I just want to make sure all that's out there. Again, follow us on StartPlaying. I will, again, that has been posted in chat for those of you who are live with us here on Twitch. If you are watching this later on YouTube, I will make sure that this is on both halves of our episode this week, as well as in the Spotify description as well. So with that said, do you have any last minute anything else to talk?
As always, thanks for supporting us, and we'll see you in the next one. Link. Go ahead, click on the link below to go back to the first half of the episode, or go check out the rest of our podcast. I'm Diamond Dust.
And I'm Emmerron.
And as always, we'll see you around. Bye.
Peace, guys.